This is the examination of the hidden human condition.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers Podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi.
Sometimes parents have horrible ways of solving problems, especially when there's another parent involved, your spouse, and maybe you don't like how maybe something's going. Maybe you want to get a divorce, but you don't want to get a divorce because you don't want to deal with custody issues and alimony and all that. And unfortunately, a lot of people go down the route of what's known as murder. And this is one of those cases, but very, I don't know, I guess it is kind of rare. Do you see the narcissism in someone that goes all the way to not taking responsibility yourself of the murder, but no, you're going to attempt to blame a 7-year-old on them as a murderer. And by the way, it's your own 7-year-old too. It's not, little Billy down the road who's got an anger problem. It's your own kid.
I'm assuming that it's her own kid. They're just referring to the kid as teenager, the child.
The child.
Because they had 2 kids.
Lori Shaver is accused of murdering her husband, Michael Shaver, in 2015, burying his body in the backyard of their Florida home and impersonating him on Facebook to mislead his friends and family. The stuff you normally do after murdering someone and burying them in your backyard. A new defense motion for reconsideration alleges that Lori Shaver did not commit the murder. Took, the last 8 years in prison trying to conjure up a plan. The defense claims that a teenage girl confessed to the crime. The girl would have been 7 years old at the time of the alleged murder, which is thought to have occurred in November of 2015, following her husband's death. Lori Shaver started a new relationship right away after, by the way. Not suspicious or anything. She was arrested in 2020 on suspicion of second-degree homicide, domestic violence, and accessory after the fact to second-degree homicide. She was released from custody in December of 2020 after her bond was approved, and she is awaiting trial. So Michael Shaver's body, not just like buried in a hole in the backyard, under a concrete slab, under a fire pit on a 5-acre property that he shared with his wife. So, let's get this so nobody's going to be able to just easily dig this up.
Right.
The Lake County Sheriff's Office made the discovery on March 9th of 2018. So 3 years later, they discovered, oh, hey, there's a body back here. The defense motion asserts that the minor child has now expressed a desire to testify in the case, understanding the rights she will be waiving and the potential penalties she could face. According to court documents, Michael Shaver was believed to have been murdered between November 7th and 10th of 2015 at his property, where Lori Shaver was the only other adult resident. Michael Shaver failed to appear at work on November 10th. Michael Shaver's friend Scott requested a welfare check after growing suspicious of Lori's actions, which included impersonating Michael on Facebook and her vague claim that he had left in a black SUV. Scott and Michael's Shaver's family did not believe Lori's claim that Michael had left to start a new family, considering he had not abandoned his children. Scott reported Michael as missing. Investigations revealed that Michael Shaver had not been seen alive since 2015. His driver's license, passport, and FAA pilot's medical certificate had all expired. Lori Shaver had allegedly asked deputies to leave the property when they were out there, poking around. And when they questioned her about the newly constructed concrete slab fire pit, she said, you got to go now. You can leave. That's where they said, this is suspicious. They determined that he had been shot in the back of the head with a .38 caliber weapon. Coincidentally, Lori was known to keep a pink .38 caliber handgun on her nightstand and had access to more .38s at the time of Michael Shaver's disappearance. The defense now claims that this is a confession from the minor child about Michael Shaver's murder. The child has reportedly insisted on testifying despite being aware of legal implications. However, this is what the defense of her says, that the child wants to testify. The prosecutor says there's no credible evidence supporting the involvement of the child, and the child has not made any statements to any law enforcement agency whatsoever. So, who is this child? Why is this child saying this now? How could a 7-year-old be involved in this? I don't know. It doesn't look likely. I'm really questioning, are they completely making this up?
There's so many things about this. Number one, if the kid is making it up, it makes me think the mom has convinced the kid, you need to save me. And the only way to save me from going to prison, it's all on you. You have to say you did this because they'll never convict a child. So I would assume there's manipulation going on there. If the kid actually did do it, the kid was 7 and 911 should have been called. That isn't where you go, you know what? I'm going to go dig the hole and then here for too long, we'll build a fire pit.
I mean, was this something that went horribly wrong and she was afraid of getting in trouble because she kept weapons accessible to a child? And maybe it accidentally happened. And then she just, this is the way she acted out and didn't, report it. And I don't know. I mean, people do really dumb things.
She got remarried very quickly after this happened. Mm-hmm. And so it makes you think that she was seeing someone before then. And then if the guy just disappears, well, she gets his 5-acre property.
Yeah. Well,
she might not have gotten that in a divorce.
I'm just amazed that is out on 2nd-degree homicide charges.
Right. And it took 5 years for them to arrest her.
This is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on to see if this child, who is now 14, would have had anything to do with this. And it's still not very clear whose kid this is.
Yeah.
I'm looking through this in greater detail because I just assumed, well, it must be your own kid.
I Googled whose child, who is this kid? So I finally found out, did they have children? And they did have 2 kids. So it makes me think it's one of them.
Yeah. They're just labeling it as the girl, which I get. You're not going to name a minor, but it is very bizarre. The shit people will come up with to get out of things and expect others to believe it is really amazing. What's more amazing to me, though, is the time of day that society gives to people who can just make up random shit. And we go, okay, well, let's really look into that. We're going to do a trial about this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to put all these manpower and investigators from people who could otherwise be using their time for valuable things in this world and this life. But we end up having to circle our wagons around the crazy fuckers all the time and go, yeah, you're kind of, well, let's just make sure, No. I mean, what?
And what's sad about this is a child, she could have started this way back when and blamed this on the kid. And the kid, you can tell a kid anything and they'll believe it.
And the kid could have been brainwashed.
Tell the kid enough, you did this, you did this. The kid might actually think he or she, I guess they've established it's a girl. She did it.
Well, I'm wondering if from the age of 7, this has been
could be
kind of brainwashed into her. And now she's finally saying, okay, I'm ready to talk about it or something. And now
it's pretty convenient for the mom before her trial begins in September.
Yeah.
It ain't right. I'm telling you what, if I had a kid and I would go to prison before my kid would. I wouldn't even, I'd say, no, you had absolutely nothing to do with it. At 7 years old, if my kid was 12 or 15, but if my kid accidentally shot my husband at 7, I would face the weapons charges or whatever they want to charge me with.
Yeah, because you're sane. The thing is, narcissism knows no bounds.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
When you are a narcissistic mother, nothing fucking matters but yourself. Doesn't matter what the kids' ages are. It's going to be what you want. Looking at her mugshot, I get spooky vibes because that's how she lives. You can see it in her eyes. I hope she goes away for a very long time, and hopefully the criminal justice system does its job, meaning the prisoners behind bars that can do things that they're legally not supposed to do. If you like the podcast, be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts so you don't miss any breaking updates or discussions on the cases as we have them for you right here. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.